But look, hey, Will, man, hey, it hasn't been necessarily football, the actual fall where the games count and everything. You called it, what do they call it?
Underwear Olympics.
Right, the Underwear Olympics. So hey, OTAs, we've seen it, mini camp, it's been here, it's stuff, it's great for the fans. What are our thoughts after this? Where do we stand right now? What are you thinking?
It's one of those things where you don't want to, you want to stay even keel. You don't want to get too excited about some of the guys that are flashing. You don't want to necessarily, start harping on guys that are struggling, because this is the time for them to work things out. I love the video that JJ Watt put out. He was basically said, "Hey, social media, y'all got to chill. Like if OTAs and minicamp and practice, those are the times to work out new pass rush drills, new techniques, new footwork." He's like, and if it doesn't work then to not do it in a game. But let's not be killing guys for stuff's not working in practice right now.
Right. Right.
And that's kind of what OTAs is about. One of the things that they talked about OTAs and minicamp is they're going to let the plays play out. You're not allowed to hit the quarterback. And so they want all the plays to happen, even if, that should have been a sack, because they want to know, what part of that play is taking too long to develop? Is this something we can do, or what do we need to do about our protection to make sure this play works? Or just essentially just working out the kinks to kind of see, of their playbook, what are they going to be able to be used, right now? And so as a result of that, it's a lot of 7-on-7s. It's a lot of, there's some 11-on-11s, but they're not hitting real hard. So there's chances for the offense to get off a little bit easier. Right. The defense usually schematically is a little bit more advanced because the offense is learning new things, especially we've got a new offensive coordinator. So the offense should look, a little bit behind. We've got a new guy at quarterback, 2 new guys at quarterback, so it's kind of just one of those things where, like, overall, like, don't get too high, don't get too down on players that are flashing or people that are struggling out there.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, this is the time where we fix all of the things that we need to work on. One of the things, obviously, I've been watching my guy Sam Howell, and one of the things he came in with was talking about, his footwork. He wanted to get his footwork. There's a lot. There's one of the times, I know you heard the story where, actually, matter of fact, you talked about it, where he had like a 3-step drop, and, Chris Paul got blown up, and then, Sam Howell got sacked, where if he had done a 5-step drop, doing what he was supposed to do, that might have actually given him an opportunity to throw the ball. So, those are the little things, the attention to detail. And he's one of the guys, one of the things Sam Howell said is that he loves to get pushed. So having that high energy, having Eric Bieniemy push, but it's still be a teacher and teach him, what you need to do, how you need to go about this, and that, and holding them accountable to things. That's something that I love to see. I love that is something that we're talking about now, instead of off the field things, accusations of this, and that, and even just owner nonsense. We're talking football, and that's something that I think has been lost here in Washington for a couple years.
It's a welcome change to, even if they're not wearing pads, even if they're not hitting, it's the fact that, like you said, they're running routes. There's 11-on-11. There's coaches yelling at each other. There's players yelling at each other, getting competitive. It's so much nicer to be talking about this.
Yes. Absolutely. So look, who stood out to you? Who stood out to you? I talked about the quarterback. Definitely the defense. Obviously they always amp it up, but there's certain positions. Who do you think caught your eye, or who have you been hearing about?
Yeah, so I'm going to start off with our 2 rookies. Okay, Emmanuel Forbes and Quan Martin.
Yes.
We've heard that they've been all over the place, making it havoc on these wide receivers. They're always around the ball. Their hands are always around the ball when it's coming in there, making it tougher to catch it. So much so that when they cut Cam Dantzler, remember one of our first signings before free agents started, we signed a guy that we thought was going to be the 4th corner from Minnesota. Right. He's played for 3-4 years in the league. They've already cut him because they basically saw, it sounds like Quan Martin's going to be starting off as basically a corner in that slot role. And so they've got their 4 DBs between Kendall Fuller, St. Juice. We've got and then the first and second round picks are going to be our starting corners, or the corners that see the field the most, I should say.
Right.
So that's been really good, because there was some concerns about Forbes and how big he was. And there was we drafted a safety in the second round.
Right.
But they're kind of showing basically, hey, they knew this is what they wanted to improve to make the defense better. And it's instantly working. They're tipping passes. They're having great coverage. The other thing I saw is they're allowing Percy Butler to just focus on playing as a deep safety right now, and not playing the Buffalo nickel, then playing deep safety, then playing strong safety. And so he's kind of just focusing on being a safety, to the point where, what if he's able to make that jump that Derek Forrest did in year 2 that came out of nowhere from us, So it really does seem like they basically, the team has said, hey, we know what we got on the front, the defensive front. We know we need to patch up this defensive back. And they went out and attacked in the offseason. It's showing to be paying dividends right now, that's exciting.
Oh yeah. I've heard nothing but great things about Emmanuel Forbes and Quan Martin. Man, I've heard Quan Martin could be a sleeper, but Emmanuel Forbes I heard is to be as advertised. Exactly what we expected coming out. But for me, I love that, and I kind of focused on kind of some of the pieces that we've had, and some of the guys that were hurt. Last year, obviously, the biggest issues was Logan Thomas trying to come back and Chase Young trying to come back. Those are two guys that I really was interested to see. Everybody made the big fuss when Chase didn't come in the first days. And, look, it's voluntary. At the end of the day, it's voluntary. He's here when it matters. When those cameras come on, he'll be here. He showed up, and I love the energy. I love what it looks like. But more importantly, I love that he looks like he feels comfortable. He looks like he's kind of getting back to kind of pushing off, getting back to, playing the way he was. Let's hope. I mean, obviously, like we said, underwear Olympics. So how much can you really take from this? But him being on the field is a lot more than we got most of last year. So, I will get a little bit excited about that. But then I flip it over to Logan Thomas. There was real questions after his kind of come back last year. Obviously, he wasn't able to do what we kind of expected from him from when he was healthy a couple years before. And that's somebody that I know I personally definitely looked at like, he's kind of expendable. But what I've been hearing is that he's back. He looks healthier on legs, and they're expecting him to potentially return to what he was back when with Alex Smith, where he was sitting there making those, around the back one-handed catches to, help us beat Pittsburgh that year. They were undefeated. So I'm here for that. We locked him down when we needed to as far as paying him, and I'm here for getting him back on that field and being more than just a playmaker, but a leader to those other guys, to the Bates, to Cole Turner, Hodges, these guys coming up. When we break it down, and we talked about this last year, and it didn't come to fruition, but we still have a big tight end room, and we have a bunch of guys that can play. But I think one of the things that we did lack last year, because they were all very young, is that true leader, because Logan was still trying to get his feet back under him. I think having this off season and overall health, that was huge. So I'm excited to see him back and healthy.
You said it so well. That was kind of the OTA session. That was kind of one of the first glimpses that I heard a lot from the reporters, is basically they said, you know what, he probably rushed it last year. Yeah. And came back too soon and wasn't the same player that he was. And now you're seeing vintage Logan Thomas. And there's a connection there between him and Sam. Sam likes throwing it to him. And we talked about, well, who's going to be Travis Kelce? And I brought up the point of saying, hey, Bieniemy may not need a Kelce. That may not be what he's looking to do. But as a matter of fact, Sam Howell's very much started to have a lot of trust there, and throwing the ball over the middle, which they said that of all the throws Sam has had trouble with is throwing over the middle and just, knowing, hey, I can rip it and throw it there. My guy will be there. Yeah. Having that connection with Logan Thomas has been his safety valve. But also to that, there's been a couple other guys in that same room that have been impressing, that did this the same time last year. Cole Turner, Curtis Hodges. This is the time we learned about them. We had an idea about Cole Turner, but then Curtis Hodges came out of nowhere, and all the reporters were like, this dude's 6'8", he's tall, he's athletic, this dude can play. He's a favorite of Carson Wentz. He's a favorite of the quarterbacks. And then he didn't do anything last year.
Nothing.
But we're seeing it again from Cole Turner and from Curtis Hodges. There's a lot of praise coming from that tight end room. I know there was real disappointment when Armani Rogers got hurt.
Yeah.
And he's out for the season with the torn Achilles. But there's also a recognition of, well, we do have some guys behind him who can play. And they're highlighting it right now. So that's been kind of, good to hear again, but I also want to see it when the games matter.
Exactly. We're used to hearing great things at this time of the year, ladies and gentlemen.
From Cole Turner, yeah.
Right. Yeah, forgive us if we pump our brakes, but definitely it is good to hear. This is, these guys are on track. They're, definitely kind of getting towards getting ready for the season, and I'm really, really excited about that. Towards mini camp.
I got one more.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
And it goes in towards mini camp too.
Okay.
But by all means, we got to talk about the star of OTAs. And he's not a player. He's the offensive coordinator.
EB? Yeah.
What have you heard about him?
Like I said before, there's one word. Is something that I have always done when I was a coaching: accountability. You are holding everybody accountable. I love guys that are riled up, fired up, ready to go. And nobody, like I said before he came here, nobody is too high and nobody is too low to catch the voice or the wrath of EB. But it's because he knows how it works. He knows what it is that you need to do. And look, he's been there before. You know what I mean? This is what we want. One of my favorite things that I think we've heard, and I know you've heard this one. There was one time early in OTAs that they were down towards the end zone, and Sam Howell, throws, an interception. And I think it was Quan Martin or Forbes. One of them takes off and is running downfield, and Sam Howell just kind of chills there. And EB says, "You threw it, go get it," and forcing it, building that kind of into him, saying like, "Hey, the mistake, whatever, you got to keep playing. This stuff doesn't stop. Nobody's going to sit here and cry for you and pat you on the back. Oh, I'm sorry. No, they're going to keep playing, and you have to hold yourself to that standard." And I've heard from Sam that he said he likes that. He wants to be held to that. He wants to be pushed and, kind of under the thumb and keep after it. So I'm loving that. And you're absolutely right. We have to talk about him because let's be honest, Will, we were a little skeptical. There was everybody saying, hey, he's gone all these different interviews. He hasn't been hired. What's really going on? He didn't call plays in Kansas City. But this man is a wealth of knowledge, man, Will. And he's bringing a whole new culture to Washington. And I'm here for it, man.
You said it when you said accountability and changing the culture. Ron has really turned over the entire offense to him, but he turned over the entire schedule to him. EB changed everything up to say, listen, we're gonna go over film it in first thing in the morning, then we're gonna go out onto the field. And he's set that up for training camp too. And Ron's pretty much said, okay, if you want to do it, you do it. And Jack Del Rio's just got to go with it, because it's he's allowed EB to be, the assistant head coach, as Ab mentioned. He wasn't just hired to be an offensive coordinator. He's allowing him to kind of run this team. And accountability and making people practice fast is part of that. He was really into that in minicamp, so we'll get to that. But like you mentioned, I love that Sam Howell reference. I loved when we saw that, saying how he was like, play's not over. Why are you done? Right. The other one is he got on Robinson about missing a block. Yes. And he basically said, when you missed that block, you prevented us from scoring a touchdown. Because that play needed to be made. And it reminded me of the difference between him and Scott Turner. And one of the things we always talked about, we would listen to on the post-game pods and stuff, is how the offense was always so close to getting a big play. Remember that fourth down play that everyone blew up because it was the pitch to Jonathan Williams? And then we found out, well, Terry didn't make this block and this didn't happen. It's like we were always having little plays that, had the little play been done, could have been larger. They talked about that a lot with screens where, if that offensive lineman had just had one more step, he would have gotten it. EB recognizes that, and he's holding him accountable right now.
Absolutely.
To say, hey, B-Rob, by you missing that, my guy was open, but you prevented us from scoring. You've got to make that play. You have to do your part in the greater picture. And holding these guys accountable and pointing out their mistakes immediately and emphatically so that everyone kind of sees it.
Yeah.
I think we've had too much of a players culture around here in DC. And Ron, I thought Ron would bring more accountability and discipline than he has, but he's been kind of laid back as a coach. Yeah, very relaxed. But EB's like, he's in their face. When they make a mistake, he's going to let them know. And I can only think that's going to translate on Sundays come fall.
Oh yeah, absolutely. One of the best things I've heard, and then we'll move on from this. With EB is out there, and if they run it like you're saying, the guy misses a block, or there was one where John, ran the wrong route. They bring him back and they run it again. And it's so much attention to detail. That is what we need, because it's exactly what you said. We were just off a little bit. You go 2 or 3 of those games, that last, drive in Tennessee, we could very easily win that game. There's that Dallas game we talked about, the penalties. If we would have had any kind of offense in the first Philly game, we played decent, but we've hurt ourselves. So these things where he is drilling it, like you need to do it so much so that it's secondary. You don't even think about it. It's just second nature. And you need to get that and get these guys on board. And I love it. Everybody's kind of woken up. Brian Robinson Jr. was saying he loves that. The fact that his coach was a running back. You know what I mean? He knows what I'm looking at. He knows about the blocking. And your point hit right on the head, where he's kind of like, look, that is integral to the play. If you don't do your job, the whole play is done. You know what I mean? You can't take a play off. So, and that's what we need. And I love that.
Well, and you know what I think I love about it so much is it comes from a place of, y'all, we just won a championship doing it this way.
Right.
Are you going to question my methods right now?
Yeah.
But also, we've had nothing but mediocrity here. We had it with Ron. We had it with Jay. It's like you got to change things up to your results if you're going to get anything to change for the better. So you got to get on these guys about, pushing. It's like this should be the standard. Like you just said, okay, so you ran the wrong route and we're just going to move on to the next play. No, do it right. You're professionals. Like, come on.
Exactly, man. Exactly. So yeah, holding them accountable, man. And hold them to that highest level. That's what we want. If we want to be what the Chiefs are, that's the closest thing to perfection in the league right now. If that's what we want to be, well, shoot, that's what we got to strive for. That you can't make those mistakes. And if you do, you need to, hold yourself accountable, learn from it, and move on.